down, people. Well, Officer Kim Potter found guilty. First-degree manslaughter and second-degree manslaughter. How could this happen? Female officers are just as good as men. They're all good, Rick. They're all great. They're all single moms. How dare they convict a woman for mistaking a taser? This 26-year veteran officer, a field training officer, she was actually training a young, inexperienced officer the day she pulled her taser by mistake and killed a man. How can this happen? Let's look at this. Okay, so let's look at some footage on how this woman could mistake her taser. This isolated incident of a female cop being incompetent that's just getting hired because of what bathroom they use. And then when they do stupid shit, everybody's surprised. So how did this happen? Let's take a look at this. Male officer fighting with a male. Female officer coming around. Pulls a gun. Shoots him with a real gun and then yells taser. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the wrong female that yelled taser and shot a guy. Hang on. Let me find the right video. Okay, sorry. This is it. So two male cops are in there fighting like normally, taking care of business. And the female cop is in the background and comes to the rescue with her taser.
Come on, man. Move out! Move! Taser! Taser! What?
Oh, shit. This girl shot him, and she thought it was a taser. This is the wrong video, too. Damn. Hang on. Let me find the right video. Okay. So here is the trial. I'm on the right video now. Sorry about that. I get confused over the years. This happens so much, and people just keep saying it's an isolated incident. So this footage is what the actual jury saw in this trial. Here we go.
Boy, yellow. It'll be on 63rd and Orchard Lane.
Really?
Okay, so you hear the female giving her good. So this is Potter, field training officer, training a new younger officer. Officer is black. Black officer stopped black man. White woman goes to jail for shooting black man who was a good kid. Where's this picture? Just so we get the players right. So this is Kim Potter, 26-year veteran training officer, training a new officer who doesn't know the difference between a taser and a gun. 26 years on the force, is a training officer, and testified she never fired her gun or taser in 26 years. Wow. So this is when they read the verdict. This is her defense attorney that couldn't believe it. He dropped his hands to his head. And this is the poor Daunte Wright, the only picture they could find with his kid. And he's holding his little kid that he had when he was a teenager after he got out of juvenile detention. And he's a hero, and it's sad. And I think his dad was killed by the cops before, but that's irrelevant. This is all about getting this white woman that should have never been a cop, that government keeps lowering the standards to be a cop. This is about getting her in jail to get Whitey. Okay, I thought I had some other pictures. Oh, here she is on maybe that was closer to the incident. All right, so now we know the players. Here we go.
Move forward.
So you heard her say, really? And the reason why she said really, for those people who aren't cops, is idiots pull over in the stupidest places. This guy stops right in front of a car trying to pull out, blocking the whole intersection. Normally, when people do stupid things like this, it's usually to stall. They're criminals. They want to hide their dope. They want to hide their weapon. They want to make their plan, whether we're going to run, how we're going to run. This is all a technique of playing stupid, so you delay the cops getting up on the car. So he stops in front of here, and now the officer has to tell him to move forward.
You're going to stop right here.
Okay, so she said he's going to stop right here, thinking he would pull up just enough to where their car would have had to block the driveway. But he didn't.
Hey, can I get a second car over here, please?
So, the training guy, calls for a second unit. I don't know why he called for a second unit. This is a traffic stop for expired tags, and he has something hanging off his rearview mirror. And the reason why they don't allow in these liberal states something hanging off your mirror is it supposedly obstructs your vision. Not that the rearview mirror doesn't obstruct your vision. It's right in the center of the freaking windshield. No, if you hang something off it, then government can pull you over and give you a ticket. All right, here we go.
Yep. Hey, what's going on, man? You got a driver's license and proof of insurance for me at all?
Okay, I want you to watch this 26-year veteran that's never fired her taser in 26 years. Her legs up on a curb, and she's standing between her car and this car. This is horrible officer safety. She doesn't know how to keep herself safe, and she's training new guys because we have to be cool and PC, and it's nice to have women in positions of power because they do just as good or better than men. It's just freaking ridiculous what this lower standards have caused and how many lives have been lost. This guy dies because of government lowering standards and hiring people because the liberal left wants to tell us we need to hire people because of what bathroom they use and what color they are, because that's more important than hiring somebody competent who's got a gun and can kill somebody. And then when it goes bad, do you think the liberal policies are put on trial? No. The stupid woman that voted for liberal policies that think liberals and Democrats are all their friends, they end up going to prison. You know what? You get what you get. She's standing in a shitty position. If I ever saw one of my trainees standing like this, I'd have chewed his ass. This is a no leg zone. You never want to be between two cars. You may have to cross there quickly. You never want to stand there. If somebody rear ends the patrol car, some drunk who's focuses in on your lights and he rear ends a patrol car, it pushes the patrol car into this car, and if you're in between it, you get no legs. I call it the no leg zone, and it's a bad position. Her lackadaisical attitude and standing here not being a good example. She should be next to the car. She should be looking in the mirror. She should be on the side of the road where she can look from behind and forward. She doesn't turn around. She's not aware of her environment. She's just being cool, getting paid extra because she's a trainer. Ooh, and she gets the title. And it makes her feel important. I mean, after 26 years never using your taser, obviously you're qualified to train other people, correct? Yeah, well, obviously it didn't work out.
You don't have a driver's license? Okay. What's your name?
So I'm going to bump this through. He gives him the driver's license. She stands there on the road. He goes through. No, you don't have a license. When somebody doesn't have a license, that means they're suspended. They either have a warrant or suspended. They don't want to show your license. They don't care a license. They probably have it. They probably hid it when he parked in the wrong spot. He probably threw his wallet under the seat. I can't tell you the number of times people had no ID. Then I figure out they're lying. When I put them in custody and I search the car, their wallet's under the seat. How did he get there? Because as soon as they're pulled over, they hide their wallet so they can say they have no ID. Because they know if you run their ID, then you're going to know they have a warrant, and then the gig's up.
So, how do you spell it?
So he's getting his name, right spelling, first name, last name, date of birth. He'll go back and run it.
It expired in 2000.
Notice her standing in the no leg zone, being a crappy FTO, not really looking in the car, not really covering him, standing back here, getting paid extra money because she's a trainer. Ooh, that means she's special. She should work for the FBI.
Alice, okay. So she was Taylor R. Pagel. Okay.
So this is what they're seeing in court. Now they go back to the car, and she gives them a little bit of advice on how to run people.
I wanted to say he was lying, but I think he's honestly telling the truth, so...
Who is it?
This left is a blue Matrix 058 Union Victor. Down was heading on the frontage road toward
Daunte.
So. This is the officer? How would you like to be this dude? He's stuck with a female training officer. As soon as he pulls car over, he calls for a second unit, because he knows his training officer is a female. So he calls for a second unit. That should be a clue.
193, I see your call.
If two males in a car call for a second unit, they better be in a fight. Take care of your business. Don't be calling for backup when you got two freaking guys there before you even make contact to determine there's a danger. This guy called for backup before he made contact, before he determined there was a danger, before he knew anything. We call that a clue.
Look for. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, if you want to just keep going.
Yeah, don't go for yourself until you're pretty.
Okay, so do you want me to continue? Yeah, just keep coming. that means the officer, hey, you contacted him, now you got a name. Do you still want me to come because you called for another unit? And he said, yeah, just keep coming. I thought she chewed him out and said, don't go code 4, which means I don't need help because that stops the units.
Did you code for yourself?
Yeah, I did.
05 to 19, not sure where you are, but I'm about 30 blocks out.
Yeah, don't code for yourself until you know who you got.
60 and 67,
Okay.
but I'll continue until...
Okay, so she says, don't code for yourself till you know what you got. That is actually good advice. You don't want to go code 4 too quick because then all the units think you're okay and you don't even know. Run the guy, make sure he's got an ID, make sure he doesn't have warrants, make sure he's not a wanted murderer or something. Then, if he comes back and his harshest violation is a parking ticket and you don't see any criminal record or anything else, then, then you can cancel and go code 4.
Right, because somebody's had warrants.
Okay.
Just don't run him that way. You might not come up with the right one if you gave the wrong name, right? Just...
Okay, so what she's telling him now is he's running him by exactly what the guy gave you. Sometimes they'll change the middle name, they'll change the initial, they'll change the spelling. If you run it by exact name, you won't get a hit. But if you just run a common name, it'll give you all the common names like that, and then you can just go through and see which date of birth matches that he gave you, then maybe a description, etc. As soon as he runs a name, he gets a hit. Guy's wanted for weapons charges.
Just run him as Daunte Wright. No, just run him like you were in DBS.
Yeah.
Just don't put all that other information in it.
Oh, okay.
See what it gives you.
Man, she's a naggy. It's not like she's helping him. She's nagging at him. No, just run. Why don't you explain to him? Look, when you run it by exact, you'll only get exact hits. So the reason you run the general name is you'll get varied hits. That way, if he's lying, it may be close. It may be a different middle name. We may be able to run his description. We can pull up his driver's license. We can check the picture. We can do things off of a bunch of hits versus just trying to run what he gave us. Because most people that don't carry ID, they lie. I mean, even the cop says, I think he's lying, but I think he might be telling the truth.
He said his brother is Dallas.
Your incident has been updated. New message.
Or Dairies.
License status suspended. Male. State.
License status suspended. Okay, so he's not supposed to be driving at all. He's driving with expired tags, and he has a warrant. But Rick, he's a really good guy, and they showed a picture with his kid, and his mom was real... Shut up, freaking idiots.
Records hit.
See? You don't want to code for yourself.
So she reinforced, this is why you don't code 4. Because now nobody's coming, and this guy's wanted, and if he would have jumped out with a gun, we'd be in trouble. Don't worry about it. In a minute, I'm going to yell taser and kill him anyway, but I just want to tell you how to run people, because I'm a training female super extraordinary Wonder Woman. I've got a golden lasso. And it sounds like I'm happy this girl went to prison. I'm not. I think it's bullshit. I don't think she should have been convicted. But I'll get to that in a minute.
Daunte Wright.
Weapons violation.
So she points out weapons violation and stays in the car. If I'm sitting in the car, first of all, they're both sitting in the car, which is not good officer safety. Normally when you're two, one guy stays out so he can react. If this guy jumps out with a gun right now and you're both in the car, now you're kind of got to draw from the seat. Then you got to get out of the car and you create all this extra lag time before you can return fire, stop it, and you're a sitting freaking duck. But I really shouldn't correct her because she's been on the force for 26 years and she's a field training officer. So that means she's good, right?
And it smells like marijuana in the car, so.
Now he says he smelled marijuana. Why didn't he say that before? Why wouldn't that be the first thing when he came back? They got a little weed in the car. I smell marijuana. In a minute, he's going to say, I saw residue in the center console.
Second one we got.
So he's got a weapons warrant for weapons, and he's got drug warrants that doesn't say or drug prior arrests, and they have marijuana in the car, and there's a warrant for him not showing up in court, which means he's going to run.
Affirmative.
You're going to want to find out who the female is because there's no OFP.
Yep.
There's a harassment on.
He's got a gross misdemeanor warrant.
So now they're briefing the new male that showed up because he needed to get another male there because he knew he was only with a female. But she was a trainer. And
there's an OFP for a female, so I need to ID her. There's all.
So he said there's an O-something P. It sounded like an order of protection. So maybe it was OFP, order for protection. We would call it a DV restraining order or a restraining order, an RO. And if somebody has an RO, anytime you run their name, it tells you who the protected party is, whether it's the kids, whether it's the wife, whether it's the ex-girlfriend. It tells you the name, and that way you make sure that that person isn't with him and he doesn't have her with her, and you ID any females with him to make sure it's not the protected party. You could go one step further and contact a protected party. Say, hey, I have this guy here stepped. I notice you have order of protection. Is there anything going on that I don't know about? Because a lot of times they just left the girlfriend's house. They've been harassing the girlfriend. They've been peeling out. They broke their window. They stole. They just left their work and caused a scene. So contacting the protected party, anytime you contact somebody with a restraining order, is good policing in my book.
Also residue, like weed on the middle console.
So now he's giving out more information. There's weed on the center console. Dude, you need to pass this information on immediately to other officers. We don't know what you saw. It does us no good. The fact that he has a warrant and now we have drugs and we have PC in the car already to get his ass out, we need to know that. So obviously this guy is a rookie. I get it. He's young. He's got to learn. I'm not saying he's a bad kid. I'm just saying he doesn't have a good trainer that's tying a knot in his ass saying, dude, you don't need to do this shit.
So, probably search the car. Apparently the car is his brother's.
You want to tell him what the warrant's for?
Warrant is for...
So she said you want to tell him what the warrant's for? It almost seems like she might be shadowing him. Because she's kind of... I mean, the way she's not briefing or getting involved, it's kind of like he's on the rear end or the last part of his field training, and they just have an FTO follow you, and they're not supposed to get involved unless it's life-threatening. We call it solo. So you have to ride solo with an FTO at the last part of your, and all they do is evaluate how you do on your own. And then they say whether you should be released on your own or not. So, and normally it's just a rubber stamp. No, very rarely do. You don't even get to that part. If you're doing shitty before you get to shadow program, which they call where you just follow them around and you don't interfere. If you get to shadow program, you ought to have your shit together. Other FTOs ought to have corrected it, knocked you back, or held you back. They shouldn't have said he's ready for shadow program. So if he's in shadow, he's supposed to be up to speed. If she is shadowing him.
The weapons violation
has been updated.
So her point was, if you got another officer there, make sure he knows there's a weapons violation. Don't just say he's got a warrant. What's the warrant for? He didn't show up for a parking ticket? What's the warrant for? A weapons violation. Well, he might want to, I would want to know that. If I walked up and a guy go, hey man, he's got a warrant, we're going to arrest him. My first question would be like, what's the warrant for? Any cop or road dog would immediately ask, what's the warrant for? If you're not going to tell me, I'm going to ask. I need to know what the hell I'm walking up for. Oh, it's for, you know, he had a machine gun, he killed a couple cops. It's no big deal, I just want to arrest him. Are you freaking kidding me?
So,
Daunte Wright.
Daunte. Usually it's Dante, but she called it Daunte. This girl, for 26 years on the force, really seems really incompetent.
Daunte Wright?
Daunte Wright.
Aren't those the Wright brothers? Not the ones that fly, but the other one?
Hey, so I'm just going to get him out and I cuff him up. I mean, he's got a warrant, so I'm just going to get him cuffed up.
Okay, so that was a question. Remember, most questions are statements. He's basically telling her, I'm going to go ahead and get him out and cuff him up. Is that all right? So he wants approval, which tells me he's probably not in shadow or he shouldn't be in shadow. He ought to know. He's got a freaking warrant. I'm going to hook his ass up. I mean, what? Let's go.
Approach the vehicle.
And I'll explain what's going on.
So, she's by the FTO with her back to traffic. This officer's over here watching. I think there's a passenger. He's watching. And they're going to let the new guy get him out.
You can just put your phone on the dashboard there, okay? And then the paper. I'll explain all that in a second, okay? Just turn around.
Who the hell are training these freaking cops to handcuff people in the doorway where the guy can jump in the door? You have him step back to the rear or away from the door, and you shut the door so he can't get back in the door. Every video I watch that goes to shit, freaking dumbass officers, and this guy's a rookie, so it's not his fault. It's his freaking dumbass FTO that's not training him, or the 3 FTOs he had before he got to her that didn't train him. You don't handcuff people in a doorway. They're going to run back in a car if they run, you dumbass. Shut the freaking door. Who's training these dumbass cops? Ray Charles knows to shut the door before you try and handcuff somebody. Crazy.
Okay, so you are going to be under arrest, okay? You do have a warrant.
I wouldn't have told him that. He was being cooperative. Why do you want to tell a guy he's going to jail and give him a chance to know this is your last chance to get away? I mean, why would you tell him that? Hey, dude, I'm just going to cuff you up for officer safety. You don't have a license. I'm going to write you a ticket. You're going to be out of here. Lie to him. Why do you want to tell him that and you don't even have the cuffs on him yet?
So.
Multitude of errors and complacency and lack. This guy is, he looks like he's waiting for his freaking donut to be delivered at Krispy Kreme. Hey, can I get a couple fresh ones with some sprinkles? I mean, this is what, look at the way this guy's standing. Are you kidding me?
Don't. You're tensing up, bro. Don't do it.
So now we have a clue. He's tensing up. He's possibly thinking about resisting, and he pushes him into the open car so now he can jump in a car. Unfreaking believable. This is what happens when you hire incompetent, and I'm not saying this young officer is a quota hire. He could or not be. I mean, he fits into the quota. I'm sure the agency hired him and was like, hey, man, we need more black officers. Let's hire him. But that doesn't mean he's bad or he's good. It just means he was hired because of his color. And then you find out later. Just like she was hired and promoted and allowed to work for 26 years without ever tasing anybody. And now she kills a dude. And now she's going to prison. Perfect.
Don't do it.
And he gets back in the car. Shocking. Who could have predicted that? Freaking Ray Charles saw that shit coming. Why did you have him in front of the freaking door, you big... Why didn't your FTO tell you? Now we've got to fight for a freaking car that drives away and gets in an accident and hurts other people. And, of course, we have the two men, man here, fighting, trying to do man stuff. And we have the little girl with 26 years experience trying to help. Rick, she's trying. She's doing the best she can. She should get a trophy for participation. Yeah, okay. And he shoots.
Yes! Yes! I grabbed the wrong fucking...
That was the big crash you heard down there where he crammed in. And then this is where she throws a hissy fit and falls on the ground and starts crying and rolling around.
Kim, sit down.
So now the rookie has to take over because the training officer with 26 years of experience that's now going to prison because she's been catered to for 26 years and never had to really live up to her standard and do a job. Now we have the young, inexperienced FTO who's got 0 time on a force. Now he has to take over and he's on his own. Wow. That never happens, people. This is really rare. This is an isolated incident. Normally the females are like all really good and they like jump into action and they're really helpful. Yeah, okay, whatever.
PI access 63rd and Captain Drive, flight from 38 stop, start north on the red.
Starting north on the red, then can you repeat your first part you said?
Okay. And here is a different angle of this 26-year veteran who is a field training officer extraordinaire, best female officer in the department, really a great person. Here is her after a critical incident.
Oh my God! Jim, sit down.
Oh my God! I got it.
Heading north on the red.
So, for 26 years, people have had this as a partner to come and save them, to come as backup when you call for backup, because she's getting paid as much as everyone else. So, who raise your hand if you're fighting a big dude who doesn't want to go to prison and you call for backup and she shows up. Raise your hand if you're like, yeah, I'm all for freaking quota hiring and, you know, diversity is our strength shit. Perfect. Just freaking perfect. I think she says I'm going to prison here in a minute. She's like a psychic. It's like she knows her future. It's really amazing. Like Ray Charles knew this.
Just breathe, just breathe. Are you okay? Just breathe, just breathe. Just breathe.
She's yelling, I can't breathe. I think she's making fun of criminals when they yell, I can't breathe. She just yelled, I can't breathe.
Breathe.
I'm gonna go to prison. Ray Charles saw that shit coming. She saw it. She should be a psychic. Maybe she can be the prison psychic. All right, let's get to some facts that nobody wants to talk about in this case. So I cut out some things from different articles, just kind of like what the news media is saying. The officer discovered Wright had a warrant for his arrest for weapon violation and an order of protection against him. They attempted to detain him during the struggle. Potter fatally shot Wright, who drove down the street and crashed into an oncoming vehicle. More injuries, more lawsuits, more city, more taxpayer money. But Rick, we have to have more female officers to be fair. Okay. Injuring the passenger of the car, all you people that think PC hiring and quota hiring is good, maybe it could be your passenger. You'll be the passenger in the car next time, as well as two others. The verdict comes after a predominantly white jury. I don't know why we have to get into color. Maybe that's to show that white guilt. Maybe it's to show that white people were guilted into finding someone guilty. Look, there's no doubt in my mind, this was a mistake. This woman made a mistake. What isn't wrong is she shouldn't have been a cop for 26 years. She shouldn't have been a training officer. And because of the lack policies and because government's never held accountable, they just give taxpayer money away when their failed programs get people killed. That's why nothing changes. Sending her to prison isn't changing a damn thing. That's my problem with this verdict. I'm all for holding cops accountable. I think she should be held accountable for pulling her gun. But she was hired, promoted, and kept, and probably never trained, and never had the ability to be a good cop, and they put her out there in the hopes that maybe she could finish her career without killing somebody. Guess what? She didn't make it. 26 years, she killed a dude. Now somebody's dead. And I don't even really care if he's dead. This guy was no freaking hero. He was a punk, and I'll get to that in a minute. All right. Jury deliberated for 72 hours. For someone with no criminal history, she doesn't have any criminal history. First-degree manslaughter in Minnesota is 6 to 8.5 years. So if you don't have any criminal history and you get first-degree manslaughter, you get 6 to 8 years, according to state guidelines. Potter expects to return first-degree manslaughter charges a max of 15 years, and the second-degree charge of manslaughter is a max of 10 years. So her exposure is 25 years. She won't get the max. I mean, I won't say that. She shouldn't. I mean, I would be okay if she even got probation. You know, she's still a convicted felon. Her life's over. Her life will never be the same. She's obviously sorry she shot him. She didn't mean to, but that doesn't matter. If you're the one that died, do you care that she didn't mean to? No. All right. Former police officer found guilty. Former Minnesota police officer found guilty, second degree. Okay. Let's see what else I got out of here. Prosecutors did not dispute the shooting was an accident, but They said in her 26 years on the force, Potter has undergone extensive firearm taser training, including how to avoid confusing the two. So, when you hire somebody that doesn't have the mental faculties, that can't handle stress, that doesn't have a mediator, that was somehow able not to fire her taser or gun for 26 years in Minnesota, which is absolutely a shit area. Anyway, she managed to do this for 26 years, and now they're saying it's her fault. Okay. They turned to the use of force experts, handbook. She drew her weapon. She aimed it and pointed at Daunte. She fired. Assistant attorney said in closing arguments, okay. This is no little oopsie. This is not putting the wrong date on a check. This is not entering the wrong password somewhere. This was a colossal screw-up, a blunder of epic proportions, Eldridge said. It was precisely the thing she had been warned about for years, and she had been trained to prevent it. Okay, I'll say it again, people. If you take a kindergarten kid and tell them to go out and direct traffic in a busy intersection, the odds of them either causing an accident or getting their ass run over is high. I don't care how much training you give that kindergarten, you put them in a field that is above their abilities. You set them up to fail, and you make other people pay for their failure, just like this case. The deadly confrontation on April 11th, Liam with Potter together with Anthony, a new officer. She was training that day, pulled over Wright, 20-year-old black man having expired tabs and a dangling air freshener from his mirror, an infraction in Minnesota. Well, driving without a license is an infraction, and having a warrant for weapons charges is an infraction, but we'll just leave that out of the article. Kim Potter, former military officer, mistakenly drew her handgun instead of a taser on a traffic stop and fatally killed poor Daunte, who was a great citizen. Even though he has a criminal history, he was committing crimes, and he had warrants for previous crimes, he was a great kid. All right, Potter is believed to be the third Minnesota officer convicted of an on-duty death of a civilian. The first was Mohammed Noor, that shot the white woman for no reason in the car. A Somali, another quota hire, found guilty of manslaughter after fatally shooting a white woman. Chauvin, white man, who became the second guy convicted of killing another black criminal who was under the use of fentanyl, who was passing fake checks, who had extensive criminal history, who was a prior felon, been to prison. Another black criminal was shot when he resisted arrest. He went to prison, and now we have this woman going to prison. Isn't our system great? Potter, who is married to a former police officer and has 2 adult sons, most recently worked on a Brooklyn Center police negotiation team. See, women always get these cool, cushy jobs like public service officer, school resource officer, negotiation team, meaning there's a bunch of guys around her. Women always get these cool jobs because they don't want to tell them that cops complain, and they don't want them backing them up, and they're worthless on the streets. So they promote them into these jobs to get them off the streets. Instead of holding people accountable and having a standard, we reward incompetency in government. Remember that. Government always rewards incompetency. All right. Kind of like we reward people coming across the border. We give them free money. Tell them they don't have to wear a mask. They don't have to get a vaccine. We reward bad behavior to encourage bad behavior, which in turn allows us to say we need more government, more programs, and more money to control this problem. Let's see. She has been involved in 1 fatal shooting in the past. This was a single sentence I pulled out of one article. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. She was involved in a shooting? I thought she never pulled her gun. She didn't. She showed up after a shooting, but the paper made it sound like she was involved in a fatal shooting. More media lies. In 2019, Potter, one of the first to arrive at a home in Minnesota, fatally shot a 2 officers, not her, fatally shot a mentally ill man when they lunged at him with a knife. Once paramedic arrives, Potter ordered, she was responsible. She was a supervisor. She was Johnny on the spot woman. She had all this experience of 26 years of never firing her taser. She ordered both officers who had just shot somebody to sit in separate squad cars and deactivate their body cameras. As a union president at the time, she escorted one of the officers from the scene back to the police station and was later present during the investigation. Oh, look, another picture of Daunte. Oh, look. He had this kid when he was a teenager. They didn't say what type of teenager. I'm thinking with the age of the kid and him, he was 15, probably having sex with an underage woman this underage woman now gets a free check because it's not the baby's fault, right? Government's got to pay him. So now, instead of charging Daunte maybe with statutory rape, maybe with child support, Daunte doesn't pay child support, yet he has a car, and he drives around, and he has marijuana, and he's carjacking people and stealing cars. That was a weapons violation, by the way. Anyway, we'll get to that. All right, so now let's get to great Daunte, the poor victim in all this. The poor victim where the mother was crying and saying he was such a good father with his kid. Daunte Wright, carjacked man weeks before he was killed by the cops. Wow. 20-year-old black man was fatally shot. Oh, another black man committing crimes and resisting police was shot. Shocker. Ray Charles saw that shit coming. All right, Daunte Wright, who was killed by Officer Kim Potter, and I'm not saying the guy should have died. I'm making a joke and kind of keeping us light because I just think it's crazy that nobody wants to hold government and supervisors and hiring practices and the incompetence of government on trial. Nobody wants to do that. We want to celebrate we sent a woman that we catered and kept in a job that she shouldn't be in when she made a mistake because she didn't have the faculties to do the job in the first freaking place, but we wanted to pay her and feel good about diversity, and now we want to send her to prison. Nobody wants to hold anybody else accountable. We want to pay out thousands of taxpayer dollars because of these hiring practices and retention practices, but nobody wants to discuss that. Let's just celebrate that a woman who was on the cop for 26 years with no criminal history is now going to prison. Yay! The system is so good. Yay! We got Whitey. Yeah! Okay. Kim Potter, mistaken gun for taser. She's an idiot. I got no problem with that. The other man shot Hodges in his left egg after Wright allegedly struck him and stole his wallet. So Wright, poor Daunte, with his little baby. Oh, aren't they cute? He probably called his mom mommy or mama. He said, Mama, I love you. And then he went out and beat a kid or hit a guy in the face, stole his wallet and cell phone, leaving him with face and teeth injuries. The lawsuit claims because he's being sued, but they're not going to get any money. The bullet caused massive bleeding, fractured heart, failure. So Wright then allegedly, we have to say allegedly, I'm not going to say allegedly, Wright stole his damn car. Wright then drove away with the victim's Honda Civic with his accomplice and fled in another vehicle. Perfect. His accomplices fled in another vehicle. Oh, but Ricky's really a good guy, and he was just driving without a license. And so what? He had a little marijuana. And so what? His plates were expired. And so what? He had something hanging on his mirror. And so what if he didn't show to court and he had a felony warrant for drug and weapons charges? So what, Rick? Look at him with his baby. This baby probably called him Daddy. Oh my God, this is such a freaking joke. You don't see any of this shit in the media. Daunte Wright was a arch criminal, everyone otherwise not being arrested. Hodges' lawyer, his probable full extent of Wright's criminal history will never be known. Yeah, because they hid his criminal history. But here's a picture of poor little Daunte smoking as a juvenile with a gun. Oh, Rick, why are you picking on him? Hang on. I don't want anybody to remember it. Let me play the media. Oh, this is Daunte. Remember this. Don't remember this. Oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? All right, look, I am not a fan of this conviction. Not because she's great, not because she's white and I want to take her side, not because I hate women, not because of any of the reasons that people are going to try to make it. I think this is wrong because she should have never been a cop. This is a hiring standard. This is an incompetency of government. This goes on every day across the country 100 times a day. But unless somebody dies and unless that person is black and the officer is white, nobody hears about it. This is costing taxpayers billions with a B every year because of incompetent quota hiring. That's my issue. That's what I think about the verdict. I think it's bullshit. I think the DA was bullshit for going after her. I think it's bullshit she's going to prison because she's not the problem here. She's just being used as a scapegoat for the problem. And now they want to make it about race and cops and police instead of making it about incompetent quota hiring gets people killed. Period. No ifs, ands, buts, or coconuts. Well, in that there, y'all have a good New Year.